Hey, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're joining me today for what I know is going to be a very, very interesting and fun conversation, and I think maybe revealing as well. So I'm happy to welcome back my guest to the show today, Rex Miller. Hey, Rex, how are you?
I'm great and happy new year to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rex, I should have looked this up before I hit the record button, but you were on the show, I think in 2021, and we were talking about stress and anxiety in the workplace. And we've run into each other a few times, and I'm excited to welcome you back and talk about some new things. So give us a little bit of a Rex update. What are you doing these days? And you had a big move in your life and stuff. So give us a
Oh,
Rex
wow.
update.
Yeah. So at the time we spoke, I was still in the North Richland Hills, which is near your area,
Yep.
but we bought a ranch in Glen Rose, a historic property, and it had 7 buildings on it. Have no business buying a ranch. I'm a Chicago boy, but we have. And we spent 18 months building out these 7 buildings. They were not in great shape. We put in a meeting facility. We've turned it into a retreat center and opened it up this spring. And so we've had some clients here. We've had executives come down. We've got an incredible guest house. The property is in Glen Rose, Texas, which is about an hour south of Fort Worth. It's on the Paluxy River, which is known for dinosaur footprints. And people come down and we invite them in, stay at the guest house. We've got leadership teams that come in. So that's number one. Number two is I launched a software company called Genius Spark, and I know we're going to talk about that a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more. And then number three, I've been deeply involved in either very large capital projects to try to help them help the teams work well together, what I call play well in the sandbox,
Mm-hmm.
or provide adult supervision when they can't. And also helping organizations go through the changes.
Mm-hmm.
Space allocation is changing. The mission of a lot of these organizations is moving from user experience to optimizing real estate, lots of change management challenges and struggle. So those have
Mm-hmm.
been the main things I've been engaged in.
Well, you forgot one.
What's that?
You started a podcast.
Oh, the resilience lab. Yeah. Was that? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm going through my learning curve for that. Now, this year, we're shifting the theme
Mhm.
to education. And we've added something. We've added not only this new theme for the year. So when we do people interviews, it'll be around education, engagement, mental health,
Mhm.
environment, all of that. But
So I'm going
I've
to drop
start.
a, oh, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I'm going to drop a link to the
Okay.
podcast, but tell us the name of the
Thank you.
podcast.
The Resilience Lab.
And you're part of the Imagine Place
Yes. Yep.
network of
Yep.
podcasts, which we've had a couple of those other podcasters on, Alexandra for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
So how are you liking being a podcaster, Rex?
I love it because it's creative. I'm a writer. This is a new creative expression. I get to talk to individuals that I have deep respect for who do great research on resilience, all things resilience. And it just fuels my learning and my curiosity. Uh, this last year, we added an element where I'm doing some solos. And so you'll start seeing not only just no video solos, but you'll also start seeing some video solos as well. And I'm 69 this month, and I've been in the industry since 1978. There's so many stories and lessons learned, and I keep seeing now all of these challenges being flushed up. So it gives me an opportunity to just reflect on a story or two that might be relevant to what somebody's going
Sure.
through.
How do you feel about doing solo episodes?
I'm learning.
I chuckled when you said no video because I love solo episodes, but I
Yeah,
struggle doing them. They get a lot of feedback when I do them, but it
yeah.
is so hard to do a video with a solo episode to go on YouTube and look at yourself. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing there. There's no interaction
I
there.
know, I know. I agree with you. And so when I do the solo, I enjoy no video. So
Hmm.
it's like me thinking of an imaginary audience like radio. And
Sure.
I grew up as a radio fanatic. And so that I'm rediscovering. And I love the medium, and for me, it's all learning, right?
Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you sharing all the things that have been happening with you since the last time you were here. But you mentioned something a couple of seconds ago about you've turned your ranch, because in Texas we call them ranches, guys, not farms.
Right.
And you turned it into a retreat center. So
Yes.
what kind of retreats are you actually hosting, and who are your ideal customers that are coming to the retreats?
Well, we've got a variety. The main thing, the barn dominium can handle up to 30 people, but most leadership teams are, under 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really neat barn. By the way, Patrick Donnelly designed the barn. He was with BDHP, and we bring in like Fortune 500 company leadership teams. I've had 3 in so far. We work on what we'll talk about later is helping people discover who they are at their best,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the differences in others, learn how to bridge the communication, and provide better, more candid feedback.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, create a more cohesive team.
Sure.
We bring in local chefs to do the catering.
Mm,
Uh, the overnight part is real easy. I'm a 5-minute walk to the downtown square, which makes this property pretty unique. And there's a hotel across the river from us, which handles 25 people. And then there's a dozen Airbnbs and bed and breakfast.
sure.
So all of that's handled. We just want to facilitate a great user experience.
So if you're not following Rex on LinkedIn for sure, please go do so. We'll be sure his LinkedIn link is in the show notes for you, because I follow your content on LinkedIn and I love seeing the images of the groups that you have out and the building. They're taking rocks and building things and hunting
Oh
for
yeah, yeah.
arrowheads and stuff. And so I think the content's really cool to be able to, and I get to see a glimpse of the ranch
Yeah.
while you're out there. So that's cool. All right. So Rex, you've also been, you said you created a software company, which we're going to talk about, but you wrote a new book. How many books does this make that you've written?
Number 7.
No, number 7. Wow. That's
Yeah.
a lot of books. It's a lot of books. So
Yes.
tell us
Yes.
about Genius Spark, and what was, if you will, what was the spark behind it?
Well, the spark was my experience of rebuilding my life after the dot-com crash.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you remember that period of time. Were you in tech? You weren't even in Texas at that time. You were probably some part
No,
of, yeah,
we were that. What year was that?
2000.
We were in Georgia, I think.
Okay. All
Georgia,
right.
I think. Yeah.
So that was a life altering
Mm-hmm.
moment for me. I went from moving from Washington, D.C. back to Texas to become vice president of sales for an office furniture distributor that had most of its business in the growing telecommunications, internet, the emerging internet world.
Mm-hmm.
And then that spigot turned off overnight.
Yep.
And we lost 70% of our revenue within a few months, and we were on life support. Um, I had a 10-year contract. I come in one day, my internet's not working. I think it's a technical issue. You know where this is headed, right? And it wasn't. And so the owner ripped up my contract, said, we don't need a VP of sales, we need sales. So I had 2 choices, leave that day or go back into commission sales. So this was kind of this tipped everything over. I was in financial stress, almost declared bankruptcy 5
Mm,
times in the next 5 years. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am today, very stressed, teenage kids, not a great dad, not a great husband.
mhm,
And I can literally see all of this falling apart. And then I run into the book called Now Discover Your Strengths. It just came out in 2000. So I take the assessment and I begin to think about, huh, this explains why I love doing these things. These things I can do, but doesn't turn me on. And I began to see that I had built my career and life around things that I was good at, but not really excited
mhm,
about, not natural to me. So that slow process then began looking at, well, why is this such a mystery to people? I got certified in coaching in it.
Mhm.
Since that time, I've coached more than 19,000 people in the Clifton Strengths.
Mhm.
And part of the next piece to the puzzle was this genius spark part of it. NASA had an assessment called the Imaginative Index. They developed in the 1960s to pick the best and brightest for the moonshot program.
Mhm.
And this assessment was so natural. It was questions like, how many uses can you think of this coffee mug? And they would look at the number, the novelty, and the quantity of
Mhm.
the different kinds of responses. And the creator said, we can give this to kids. So they did. They picked 1,600 kids in the Head Start program. And for those of you that don't know the Head Start program, it started in the 60s. It was to give kids in at-risk neighborhoods a leg up before they got to school.
Mhm.
So these are 1,600 5-year-olds. And when they got the results back, it blew their minds. It was astonishing. Guess how many of these kids tested as geniuses?
Okay. I actually know the answer to this
Okay,
question
all right.
because it's in
Because
the
you read it
book.
in the
It's
book.
in the
Yeah.
book because I'm reading the book right now.
Okay. So
So, yeah.
98% tested as geniuses.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And
this part of the book I was really surprised at, by the way.
well, and it tells us something that we innately know. We were all born with this creative curiosity, bold, venturesome
Mhm.
abilities where we're wired uniquely. And over time, we begin to learn that it's more important that we fit in and play it safe than to be who we truly are. I
Mhm.
mean, guess what the number one regret is on your deathbed? Number one regret.
Ooh. So my immediate thing that comes to my mind is I didn't do what I loved. I didn't work a job that I loved.
Very, very similar. That I I didn't live my true self,
Mm,
and that I lived up to other people's expectations.
sure.
That's the number one regret.
Mm,
So we have this capacity, and I'm rediscovering what that looks like in our grandson,
mm,
and just fascinated by how much of a sponge we are, how open to failure we
mm,
are. None of those things, we don't, those kids don't even think this is failure. It's just
correct.
try
Yep.
and learn new way.
Yep.
So as we begin, they track these 1,600 kids. And 5 years later, at age 10, it drops from 98% to 30%. Then at age 15, it drops down to 12%. By age 30, it is 2% of us keep that genius capacity.
Yep.
So the whole premise behind Genius Spark is that first, we have to rediscover who we are at our best.
Mhm.
And so I like the Clifton Strengths because it's measuring the strongest elements of your brain, what naturally
Mhm.
fires strongest and fastest. So that's a proxy for what we naturally do best and enjoy most. Then, since the 2000s, we've got all this new understanding of performance science. Think
Mhm.
of Michael Phelps
Yeah.
and what he does. He imagines his performance at his best.
Mhm.
Well, we can do the same if we have a picture of who we are at our best. And imagine every day we're performing right now, right?
Yep.
We're either showing up at our best or not. And then we could reflect on, well, how did I show up? Was I present? Was I genuine? All those things.
Mhm.
Now, if you have a description of what that looks like and you reinforce it, then there's another part that activates, and it's called the
Mhm.
reticular activator. That's the part of your brain that guides your actions and your thoughts towards the things you want
Mhm.
or the things that'll kill you. That's what the brain is designed to do. Two things.
Sure.
So this is the reprogramming, and so we call this the genius spark, finding that hidden spark, refining it, giving it descriptive language, and then a simple process of what performers do, musicians and athletes, in terms of reinforcing it, mentally rehearsing it, and reflecting on it. That's the simple process.
So you take the Clifton Strength Finder and you use that information, and then you take it into your software, Genius Spark. And what happens with it once it gets into your software? What do you do with it from there?
We take you through a filtering process and give you traits for
Mm-hmm.
each strength that give you a little more description of what this is.
Okay.
Because when you get the results back, and you just got the results back,
Yes.
you get
I took
three or
the
four.
test. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. I took the test, and Rex and I are going to review my results. I have not really seen them. So we're going to review the results here in just a few minutes, but keep going, Rex. Sorry.
So you get a lot of content.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're getting is a computer generated report on a range of how this strength might look for you,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not tailored to you. And you're not taken through any kind of tailoring process, filtering and sorting. And what you find, or what I found over the years, is that maybe 2% of what they give me actually is what I need and want that captures me at my best. And then you put
Mm-hmm.
it together in a paragraph or microscript or a mini narrative.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the
Got it.
software does. Once it's in that format, then it's easy to reinforce. I read my portrait this morning. I read it every morning. And then I ask myself, well, how is this portrait going to show up at their best with Sid today?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all the work happens behind the scenes if you trigger it, prompt it with reading it,
Mm-hmm.
imagine how I would show up, and then reflect on it. That's the simple process. That's how we grow. The old models and everything, I was trained is that the more content I learn, the more manuals, the more stories I read, it's going to change me, but it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
We have to change our stories. We have to reprogram our brains. We have to be more aware of when our chemicals tell us we're on and when we're not. That's the process of personal transformation.
So I'll simplify this because as you were talking, what I was hearing and what I was seeing, what I was visualizing was this paragraph is like a beacon. It's like a guiding light for us.
That's what we
And
call it. Yeah.
check in with it every day. And hey, reminding yourself, hey, this is who I am. And then asking yourself, how are you going to show up today and all the various different tasks that you're doing. And then to me, the most important part of that is what you said at the end, which I think a lot of people don't do. You probably have statistics about how many don't, is the reflection. How
Correct.
did I do today? And in that reflection, looking at, okay, what went really well today? What didn't go really well today? And then what did I learn from all this? Like, what did I learn from all this? And then the next one for me is how are you going to show up differently? What are you going to do differently the next time? Right. The reflection is so important to growth. And as you said, transformation.
And it only takes 5 or 10
Mhm.
minutes to do.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
an
long.
easy thing to do. It's not long. The alternative is we live every day like Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just go
Yes.
through and whatever happened the day before, it doesn't stick.
Mhm.
And so there's no growth, there's no learning
Mhm.
going on. So this is where we've gotten to after 25 years of my trying to rebuild, figure it out, working
Mhm.
with, several thousand people and all the latest performance science. And what some people may not know is that I'm a certified tennis professional. So,
I did not know
performance,
that.
what's that?
I did not know that.
Okay. Yeah. I just got my 40 something year, hey, you stuck in here long enough sticker.
So you teach
Um,
people how to play tennis?
yes. When I
Okay.
first moved to Texas in the 70s, that's what I did
Oh,
before
wow.
I got a real job as a project manager. Yeah. So, but that's always been important to me,
Hmm.
high level performance and all the little things. I'm a geek on that stuff. And so this is part of it.
So professionally, whether you're an athlete or you're a project manager, an interior designer, a leader, wherever you are in your life, it to me, and I think you're echoing this, and athletes definitely understand this. It's about getting 1% better every day. How do we continue
Totally.
to improve?
Right. We call that marginal gains. Didn't come up with that, but we've got examples in our
Hmm.
training of the UK Blue Sky, the UK cycling team went from one of the worst to the top
Hmm.
through those little, incremental daily improvements.
So I either read a book that had them in it or I watched a video that highlighted that improvement. So it's great. And I talk about it a lot on the show is like, how do we move forward? It's forward progress, 1% better, one step forward, whatever you want to
Right.
call it every day. So, all right, Rex, I'm ready to dive in.
Okay.
So if you're listening on an audio platform, Rex is going to share his screen and we're going to go through and see all of this. So you might want to jump over to YouTube. Those of you watching on YouTube are going to see the screen. So this is all new to me. So you are going to experience this with me. So let's go.
All right. So I'll give you an orientation of what we've got here. And what you see are your 5 strengths with different colors. So what Gallup has done and other systems have done is that they've created categories, and they're all pretty much the same, of strengths that are relating strengths. Those are blue. So your relator is one of the relating strengths. And a relating strength really is instincts around nonverbal elements that make relationships work. Relator is around trust, authenticity, genuineness. It's also got the best bullshit meter. So I am going to guess that when you're with a group of people, you can feel this radar of I I immediately feel comfortable with this person or I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And what
100%.
happens is you can't control it'll shut it off. If there's somebody you now, it doesn't mean that you will distrust them forever, but you're now in the trust but verify mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the same thing. And we were at a an IFMA event, my wife and I, years ago, and we walk into this event, and my wife just jabs me in the ribs. And I go, what's going on? She says, now play nice. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't know who you saw, but your whole body changed. And sure enough, there was
Wow.
someone on the other side that I have had some challenging encounters with over time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so remember these strengths, we're going back. Clifton Strengths is capturing those things that fire the fastest and the most instinctive.
Sure.
So there's a magical side to it and a survival side to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of it. So
Sure.
yours is around trust or bullshit.
Okay.
That's that. Now, the red strengths, competition and winning others over, that's what WOO stands for.
Okay. I didn't know. Okay. When see woo, I think about woo woo, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
winning others over. Go ahead.
right. That's that persuasionness,
Sure.
that charm, that persuasion, that little bit of mischievous, um, all of that's part of
Yep.
that. And and then competition. The red are the motivational strengths. So if the blue picks up on nonverbal elements, think of it as a thermometer and think
Yep.
of the red as a thermostat. It senses individuals' readiness, their engagement. When someone, when someone has a wall or a barrier up,
Mm-hmm.
you're winning others over instinctively wants to go and warm it up, take that barrier down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's interesting is that in other people, let's say someone's got relator and someone's got winning others over, they're on the opposite ends.
Mm-hmm.
Winning others over is like a bumblebee in a flower patch. Every person has a little bit of pollen to grab and take to the next flower.
Sure.
Relator is tight relationships. Think of the movie Meet the Focker Circle of Trust. You're
Yep.
either in the circle or out of the circle. You've got both of them. So it means you've got a tremendous capacity to be friendly with the woo, to be genuine with the relator, and to help people open up. And that gives you insight into individuals by being able to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it may be a wonderful combination for a podcaster. uh, Now,
Yeah.
the competition as a motivational strength knows what it takes to win or lose. So instinctively, someone gives you an opportunity, or even with a guest, you immediately know, is this going to be a winner or not?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and if it is going to be a winner, what will it take? And are we ahead or behind? What are we going to
Mm-hmm.
need to do to make this work? So think of it in sales.
Mm-hmm.
You get a bid opportunity. Someone with competition, again, remember the energy level. This is wired. So if you're looking at this, you instinctively know, is this wired for someone else to win, or do we have a chance?
Mm-hmm. That's
If
so
it's
true.
wired for someone else to win, no energy. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, got to go through it's a
Mm-hmm.
drain.
Yep.
And if you're working with the team, you automatically know, are we ahead or behind? And what do we have to do to pick up the pace?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what competition brings to the table.
Okay. I'm with you
Activator,
so far. Go ahead.
okay. Activator is that urgency, that instinct, that let's get it started. So you've got another very interesting combination. Now, activator is internal, inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
The red and the blue are triggered by people. So you're what I might call an ambivert. You're great with people, and you're also great just launching off as a pioneer, getting your own stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that activator is, let's get it started, like a sprinter, like the first leg of a sprint. You want to hand off the baton and put it to somebody else. And you've got an eye on what the finish line is. So boom, as soon as you know what the goal or the destination is, there's not a lot of time or thought put into deep planning. It's let's figure it out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Now you add to that strategic. Strategic is a unique strength because Gallup says you either have it or you don't. It's not something you develop over time. And it's the instinct to begin with the end in mind. It starts with the end in mind and then works its way backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so that strategic is like a mountaintop view of where's the goal, and it acts like a GPS. Once you get the coordinates, it'll
Mm-hmm.
navigate, call audibles, pivot. And so you're very much, this is football season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're very much an audible quarterback. You'll see the landscape, but the challenge may be for others who work with you. They may not see what you see, what you think is instinctive and easy.
Mm-hmm.
So you may throw them off, or they may be moving down one road and you're moving in a new direction. They may feel a little whiplash from time to time that, oh, he's changed his mind, he's shifted directions. What's up with that? So part of this is understanding that, you know, you've got you've got great instincts to take risk,
Mm-hmm.
to see the big picture, to put it into immediate action, to learn by doing, and
Mm-hmm.
and so you don't have a failure mentality. You either succeed or you learn. That's that activator, very resilient. Activator is very
Mm-hmm.
resilient. Um, Always on the upside, that winning others over has this positive outlook and the ability to bring people together for a common purpose. That's kind of the combination that I see here.
So, um, I'm smiling and chuckling a little bit at the same time because
Okay.
I cannot disagree with anything that you said at all. I have nothing to disagree with. And I remember the first time I took one of these, and it was a long, long time ago when I was up for a leadership position at Hayworth. And I had to take a disc profile.
Oh,
And then I
sure.
had to
Yeah.
meet with a psychologist to judge my readiness for a leadership position. And they gave the results to me, and then I gave them to my wife, and my wife read them. And she goes, "This is like reading a book into your mind because everything in here is true." And that was 27
Sure.
years
Yeah.
ago, right?
Yeah.
And still here today. Man, there's a lot of advances and changes in this, but I mean, this you couldn't be more accurate at what you described,
Interesting.
especially the
Yeah.
changing lanes. Like I see, it's really interesting because at every step of these, I thought of something, and I often say to people that are around me and that are working with me, I can't see it yet, but once I see it, once I have the vision of where we're going, we're off to the races. And it takes me a while sometimes to see what I'm looking for, what I'm searching for, right? But once I see it, let's go. So funny.
Well, and so recognizing that about yourself, um, what what our process helps you with and the software is not only create that genius element,
Mm-hmm.
what's your sweet spot description, but also the things that get in your way, the kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
Because people may work with you and not know or not feel like they've got permission to say, Sid, you left me in the dust. I have no clue what we're doing here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've got some similar traits that you do in terms of high level thinking, fast moving. My son, on the other hand, my oldest son, is very detailed oriented. He's got analytical as one of his strengths, which is not
Mm-hmm.
only detailed, linear, rational, data driven, but also skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll jump out with a let's go this direction. And my gut will tell me, yeah, it's pretty good. Your gut will probably tell you it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll raise all kinds of red flags for him. Um,
Mm.
and he will tell me that it feels like I pulled that out of the air. Now he uses a different 3-letter word that starts with an A. Um,
That's great.
but this has helped us bridge that difference of
Sure.
him knowing that and then him understanding I'm going to operate this way. And we always talk about let's be effective. It's not about being right or wrong. Let's be effective. So
Yep.
there's 33,600,000 different combinations of these top five.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
lot. So now we're going to go through and create my genius paragraph, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So uh, we'll start out with strategic. There are 8 choices. And so we're going to abbreviate the process a little bit just so
Sure.
we can experience, and then you and I can go back and tweak it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a description of the strength and a little headline. The strength's a little headline for it. Life is a chess game. There are 8 traits. And so the process is looking at the 8 traits, picking the one you think captures strategic for you at your best. And again, we're going to abbreviate because we have ways of editing these to tweak the language. We have ways of combining them. Our goal is not to create an algorithm, but to create something that's tailored to you, that you feel this captures me at my best. When you look at these 8, which one do you feel stands out the strongest for you?
So I'm going to read them just for the people on the audio.
Oh,
So
sure.
there,
Right.
I need to hear the big idea before actually hearing all the details. I need to understand the why behind the mission. Whenever I'm in a conversation, I look for common themes and patterns. I can cut through the clutter and get to the point. I can pivot quickly when I sense resistance or an obstacle. I naturally think in categories and themes. I can see the end of the story. I can see the end of the story often before it's finished. Then I start with the end in mind and work my way backwards. Okay. So my my gut here is telling me it's not number 2, right? And
You need to
um
understand the why. That's number 2.
yeah, so thank you, Rex. I need to understand the why. It's not number 2. It's not number 3 either.
Okay.
Um I'm gonna say it's probably you're pointing at number 4 and number 5. I mean, I pivot all the time.
Okay.
Like, because life's about pivots, right? It's about, hey, this didn't work. Let's pivot. We still have the objective. We still have the mission to grow our business. We tried something, it didn't work. Let's pivot into something else and let's just keep going. So I'm gonna go with I can pivot quickly when I sense resistance or an obstacle.
Now, so think of this first version as a schematic level. It's just
Okay.
color by number.
Mm-hmm.
The process again is that the clearer the paragraph becomes, the clearer the coordinates to the brain. So I revisit mine very often.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll start with this, and you can
Got
see
it.
here we've got a text editable box, so
Okay.
we can change it. And a lot of the value comes when you're doing it in conversation like you and I are.
Okay, great.
So imagine a manager with a new employee or whatever going through this and just having the discussion. So the
Hmm.
discussion is the golden nugget, and the artifact is just an artifact. So
Sure.
you can see how it's now left this up here. And
Got
now we've moved automatically to activator. Now, one of the things that is unique in our system is that some of these strengths can fit into one or two
hmm
zones.
Sure.
We call them chameleon strengths. So we're going to start with activator and look at the two possibilities. One is I can't wait to get started, or number two, my energy motivates others. Which of those two is more true?
Why can't you select both?
They're two sides to the same coin. And again, we're trying to drive towards clarity.
Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna pick. I can't wait to get started, and I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you. I'm gonna tell you why. I love the holidays, and they're great. But I cannot wait to get back to work. I cannot wait
There
for
you go.
everybody else to get back to
Right.
work. Like the fact that between Christmas and New Year's, I only got 10 emails freaks me out. Like, let's just go. Let's get
Wow.
back to work.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm
Yeah.
going with I can't wait to get started.
That's a great choice. That's a great, yeah. And it picks up all kinds of visual images for me as to, how long you're willing to sit on a couch and have a leisurely conversation versus getting up and going and doing something. So as you're looking at these, let's go ahead and read them again.
All right. So now we're under activator. So they are ideas spark action, and action makes ideals real. The next one is the anticipation of launching, exploring, and innovating something new and valuable thrust me into action. My sense of adventure motivates me to launch new initiatives. When I get the feel and the flavor for direction or goal, I want to spin into action and into intentionality. Wake up every morning ready to go. I'm fearless on taking new challenges. I believe action, not talk, gets things done. And I'm the go to person for getting something started. So, going with my gut and the one that just like totally resonated with me, I wrote down it's between number 3 and number 4. So, my sense of adventure motivates me to launch new initiatives. I have no problem launching new things. But number 4, when I get the feel and flavor of a direction or a goal, that's the vision. I see the vision for something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to spin talk into action and ideas into intentionality. I'm going to go with number 4.
Okay. So look at how your strengths are interplaying. The strategic is the vision side.
Mm-hmm.
The activator is the let's get it moving, spin it into action.
Yep.
The competition defines the parameters of winning or success
Mm-hmm.
immediately. All that happens behind the scenes, real time,
Yep.
instantaneously, and it's a unique combination that you've got. So again, we could change this. We may do that in the future, but I'm just
Yep.
going to save it, and you can see that we're building out the
Sure.
paragraph. Now it's gone to winning others over.
All
Short
right.
name is Woo. So what are the 8?
So I come alive when in front of a group. I can make quick connections and find common ground. I love social events where I can meet new people from different backgrounds. I'm like a bumblebee that spreads positive energy to the world, to everyone around me. I am transparent even with people that I just met. I am fearless when it comes to meeting new people. I can sell just about anything to anyone. I'm laughing at that. I had a boss tell me one time, said you could sell ice to an Eskimo. Um, my friendly dialogue motivates and mobilizes others. Oh my gosh, Rex. So many of these I resonate with, but
Sure, yeah.
I'm thinking about something that I did in December, and I spoke in front of a interior design IIDA emerging leaders group. There were 9 of them. And dude, I was just so alive talking to this group of young
Oh, that's so
ladies.
good. Yep,
And so I'm
I
going to go
bet.
with number 1.
Okay. Now recognize that all of these could fit,
Yeah.
but what we're trying to do is filter down to the strongest, clearest message to your brain.
Yeah.
Over time, we can combine,
Mm-hmm.
edit, add, but right now, we're just putting the training wheels on. So this
Mm-hmm.
is a great process. So let's read these 8. This is now competition that we're on.
All right. So I instinctively know if I can win or succeed or not. I know what it will take to win and whether I'm on target. I perform best compared with others, and the stronger they are, the better. I like to turn work into a game, keeping score keeps me motivated. I hate to lose more than I love to win. I don't play for fun. I play to win. I help others perform their best by helping them see themselves as winners. I don't waste my energy if I see that myself or my team can't win. Oh my goodness. Um, So it's between number one and number two, I think. So I instinctively
Okay.
know if I can or we can succeed or not. You talked about that earlier. I can pretty much know that. But then the next one is I know what it will take to win and whether I'm on target. I mean, I can see things like well, these are the things we got to do to make this happen. So I'm going to go with number two, actually. I know what
Okay.
it will take to win and whether I'm on target.
Now they're cousins. So what I'm going to do just for demonstration purposes is I'm going to combine those two. So all I have to do is copy that and then go down to this number two and add it
Okay.
and save it. And they're both in there now.
Okay, great.
Now we're at relator, the final one.
Okay. Here are the eight. I have a fine-tuned sense if someone is genuine or not. I have a tight circle of trust that my closest friends are a part of. I am the go-to person and confidant for my friends and colleagues because they value my trust and advice. I have conscious and subconscious guidelines or rules that help me from trusting, help me form trusting relationships. Sorry, guys, my glasses are, I'm going to look down to read. I have close relationships that go back to grade school. I enjoy building relationships that I have a history with. I speak candidly with those in my circle of trust. I practice the golden rule and treat people how I want to be treated. I work best on teams and play well together. Without really much hesitation, it's number three, Rex. I am the go to
Okay.
person and
Yep.
confidant.
Yeah. And I can imagine that. So it created an archetype with the four strengths. So that's unique. About 20% of individuals have strengths in the four zones, which means that you're a natural connector. You're
Mm-hmm.
a jack of all trades. You have an instinct sense. This particular leadership style instinctively knows if a team is functioning well or not, like a
Mm-hmm.
master mechanic listening to an engine, knowing if a
Mm-hmm.
cylinder's out. And you're able to naturally elevate team performance. You see the gaps. You're instinctive in filling the gaps. Growing up, you probably had a wide variety of groups and friends that you were comfortable with. You were a jack of all trades, and that's what this combination looks like. So we've finished kind of phase one, which
Mm-hmm.
is we've built the framework for your strengths.
Mm-hmm. So
Now we've got,
for those
go
not
ahead.
listening or not watching on YouTube, basically it took all of my responses and it created a persona that says you are a connector.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I'll read it here. The connector archetype possesses strengths in all four personality zones, allowing them to connect with people and teams effortlessly. With the ability to launch from any zone, they build bridges and can quickly adapt to new environments. Their wide-ranging interests make them expert generalists, excelling at everything they do. That's what a connector is.
Okay. How does that resonate with your experience?
I can't argue with it. And I'm
Okay.
sure people that know me that have worked with me or worked for me today are listening to this laughing because they're going, that's exactly who he is.
That's it. Neat. Now let's read the paragraph in the white aloud. Now that we've assembled it, let's see what it sounds like as a paragraph.
I can pivot quickly when I sense resistance or an obstacle. When I get the feel or flavor of a direction or goal, I want to spin talk into action and ideas into intentionality. I come alive when I'm in front of a group. I know what it will take to win and whether I'm on target. I instinctively know that if I or we can succeed or not, I am the go-to person and confidant for my friends and colleagues because they value my trust and advice. Now,
Right. How's it feel?
I'd reword it a little bit because the
Sure.
writer
Yeah.
in me would reword it a little bit so it
Yeah. Yeah.
flowed. But
Absolutely.
no, I mean, again, it resonates with me. I mean, I have nothing that I can say against it at all, Rex.
Well, and so this is step one in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And step two will be to wordsmith it.
Yep.
And you can easily do that. And I'll follow up and circle
Yeah.
back and show you how. But you can see I can highlight any of these paragraphs
Sure.
and then pull it up and we can
Make
wordsmith
some
it.
changes. Okay. So Rex, I know you have a hard stop here in just a couple of minutes. So I want to respect that. And I have access to this, so I'm going to go and play around with this. But I want to ask you if you'll come back because
Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting to take this once I kind of get it to the next level and then reveal the kryptonite.
Yes. That's going to be the fun, interesting
Mm-hmm.
part.
Yep.
And then the reason we've developed it, first of all, did you find this pretty easy and intuitive?
So hey Rex, you want to stop the share for a second? Sorry, that
Yeah,
way everybody's not looking at it. So,
sure.
so what I would say is I got the test. I took the test, took 30 minutes for me to take it. It was super easy. I was sitting here nice and quiet. And then, so this, I enjoyed it. I enjoy learning about me. I enjoy learning how I can continue to improve. And so I really liked it very much so. And I actually
Y-
look forward to diving into it a little bit more. And this is part of what you do as your consulting service with groups and teams, right?
Yeah, and we show teams and groups and companies, and I think one of our goals is to make this easy enough that you don't need somebody like me
Mm-hmm.
to have the kind of conversation you and I had. And so that lowers the threshold and it broadens the number of people that that can get into this dialogue conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and the team dynamics is something we can talk about in the future too. So yeah,
Yeah,
this was
I would
fun.
love
It's
that.
always fun for me to do this.
Yeah. So we're going to have part two of this coming up soon. We'll get it scheduled and get it recorded. So stay tuned. You're going to get to not just see who I am, but get to see what my kryptonite is, which I think will be quite funny. So,
Yeah, right.
it'll be very interesting to reveal that. Rex, I can't thank you enough for coming on today and sharing
Yeah,
a
you're
little bit
welcome.
about what you've been up to and where you've been headed and the new things you're doing. Congratulations on the book, the software company, and your continued success. And I look forward to coming down and hanging out with you one day soon because you're not too far from me. So,
That's
with
right.
that, Rex, if our community would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn is probably the number one area. And then number two, the website is rexmiller.com. And then my email is simple as well. It's rex@rexmiller.com. So it's all very
Easy
easy.
peasy. We'll be
Easy
sure that
peasy.
all of that is down in the show notes for everyone
Thank
to
you.
access. If you do reach out to Rex, please let him know you heard him here on the Trend Report. And that's why you're
Yes.
reaching out and having a conversation with him. So, Rex, thank you very much. Everybody go out there and have a great day. And we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care.